Hello, hello, everybody. Just waiting for
Hello,
hello,
hello, Steve.
Achtungrael. So nice that you could do this, and I appreciate.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And it's early there. There's Blue. Yeah, my daughter and husband and some friends went to Mexico City for the first time about 6 months ago. Absolutely loved it. Loved the food. Loved the art. Loved everything about it.
Oh, that's so great to hear, Steve. Yes, indeed, this city is something else, and when you get to see the whole aspects of it, it gets really fascinating as well as weird. But yes, I'm so happy for that. And thank you very much for having me. I'm really honored to be here, and I hope we can share a lot today. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure we will. The honor is ours. As always, we'll let the room fill up a little bit, and then we'll talk and open it up to Q&A. So, Blue, hello. I haven't talked to you since last time I talked to you by phone, which was a couple days ago. But anyways, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm very good. I'm glad to hear everybody. We're all up at our different times around the world, so that's cool. And very happy to have Achtungrael here with us today. Thank you for getting up so early. It's like 7 a.m. for you, right?
Yes, thank you, Blue. Yes, it's a kind of early. Some of you could say that it's not early at all. You're lazy, but yeah, sometimes I go to bed like 4 a.m. or something like that. So it gets weird. But yes, I am here and I'm very grateful and happy to be here.
Well, I think either you're a great draw or this new 9 o'clock time zone is great because the room is filling up pretty quickly. Usually half an hour, people dribble in and they're yawning, and you can hear the coffee gurgling down. But we'll give it another few minutes here, and we'll invite Uncle Tiba up here just in case anything gets a little weird. Tiba will be there. He is our guardian angel here, and also important to thank Tiba for starting this whole Flare initiative. It's like a radio network and having all of these hosts, giving them an opportunity to have their own shows. And our particular show with um, yours truly in blue is now into spotlight mode, and this seems to be working well. People are enjoying it. We're talking to some great artists, all different genres here, and we'll keep doing it. So, Blue, I think we got enough people in the room that we should get going. Jimmy is down there. I see Bobby. Hello. Joanne. Hind and P Guy, okay, Seendolf. So a lot of our regulars are here and some new faces as well. So let's start off with the basics here. For those of you who don't know you, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your work, what box you put yourself into, or what boxes. You seem to be multidisciplinary, multi-genre, and tell us about your work and how you got started. And then Blue has a short list of 937 questions that she wants to ask. So we'll turn her loose. All right. So welcome everybody to this Flare space. And format is we're going to be speaking with Ralph for 45 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up and we'll bring people up then. So if you request and we don't bring you up immediately, don't take it personally. It's not you, it's the format here. All right, take it away. Welcome, Achtungrael.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you all, Blue Tiva. Thank you for having me here. Hello to everybody. For those who doesn't know me, I'm Achtungrael. My real name is Francisco. I'm from Mexico City. I was born in here. Um, it's been a hell of a ride because true story. 2 days after I was born, the hospital went on fire. So that's a fun fact. And from there, that stuck in my mind, and I've always have that fire in me, I think.
Have you been
And
spreading flames ever since then?
in,
Oh my god.
in some sense, but yeah, that's a, a very fun fact about my life. And I think I I was creating since the day I was born, because I do believe that all human beings uh, born with this amazing talent of creativity, and sometimes we hide it, or we lose it, or we try to forget about it, but I do believe that everybody has it, and it would be a wonderful world if we were just, doing art and expressing our creativity. Um, and apart from that, well, I had a major in communication science, human communication science. So that's where I like started to see things differently in a, communication side of things. And I started working after my school. I started working at. I opened on my own advertisement agency. I did tons kind of work like graphic design, video production, websites, etc. And then I like after 20 years or so of working in that area, I was like kind of frustrated by it, because I realized that my work was being used to promote and advertise things that not necessarily were absolute truths, or I was trying to deceive by creating this another world. You know how advertisement works, so I decided to go the other way around with communication, and get to the purest point of it, and for me that is art. So I started doing art, I think back in 1999, because that was a very important year for me. It was when I lost my mother, so that triggered something inside of me, and decided to start doing art just because I needed to express. I needed to let go of many things. So I did a lot. Like I started doing like these weird videos. Like I'm talking about uh, 2002, 2003, and then I had this need for painting with my own hands. So I bought canvases, I bought paint, and started painting as well. And in back in 2021, I heard about crypto, NFTs, and all that stuff. So I started doing a research, and I get my wallet, I all the process that it needs to be done, and I'm here after, you know, 2.5 years or so. Maybe we're getting close to three. And I still create. I create very different from 20 or 30 years ago. I've been developing my own style. I keep believing in my vision, and here I am. So, yeah.
Wow, well, that sounds like your mother's passing was a very deep impact, and that transition, okay, at that point, for using art as a way of expressing your sorrow and untapping all kinds of emotions that you had there. It was kind of it sounds like that was a major turning point for you. And when you shifted to getting into physical art there, were you self-taught or did you, well, tell us how you got into that. That's a pretty big shift.
Yes. One day I was working as usual, for the company I was working, and then suddenly I had this need to paint. Like, it was very weird. So when I finished the work, I went to the store, bought one canvas, paint. It was like, okay, I'm going to choose one or two paints, and two colors. And then I brought them back to the studio, and I started just painting, like, out of my soul, right from out of my soul, because I had the need to do it, and I cannot express that very good in words, because it's more like a feeling, a call. It was like a message to me, like, you need to do this somehow, somewhere, at some point. And I just started, and I am self-taught in the arts area, but I have many information from visual theory, uh, visual techniques, etc., that I learned in my school. So I combined all of those, and started, doing art, because I do believe that it's the most unique and honest way of communicate for an individual.
Blue, do you want to comment on some of the pieces you've been posting here? I'd be curious to see,
Sure.
yeah, what are some of the through lines? At first blush, they look so disparate, but all beautiful. But I imagine that in Achtun's mind, there's a good through line and the dots all connect.
Hmm. Yeah. And thank you guys. I just wanted to go ahead and get them up so that I could then kind of take more part in the conversation. I'm sorry to blast you all with all of those, but if everybody wants to slide back to the very beginning, um, I'm aware of have Actun and I have come in contact in the last maybe 3 or 4 months. I was really struck right away by how unusual his art is and how um, absolutely thoughtful it is. It is quite intricate, and it has a very unusual essence to it, which is it is geometrical and it is graceful at the same time, and it is asymmetrical. So that is very interesting. There is no AI in it whatsoever. None of it is machine generated. Every one of those lines he has drawn himself, and he puts up his work in progress, where he's starting with just a pad of paper and a ballpoint pen, and drawing out his motifs that he is interested in drawing. He has a very interesting story about, why he has some of his motifs, but the through lines that I see it in it, as someone who's been in the art world for quite a while, is he's exploring themes that are universal themes. You see very symbolic issues in there, a lot of labyrinths, a lot of use of actual 2D art to make 3D effects, which is something that people now rely on machines to do, but he knows how to do it himself. He taught himself how to do that. That has to do with the way of making your mind work. It's quite beautiful. I hope I don't give away too many of your secrets, Aktun. You can tell me to be quiet, but I'm aware that he has created his own language, and he has coded messages inside of all of his artwork. And if you not only is it quite beautiful and glowing when we're looking at the digital pieces, but if you zoom in, there's other worlds in there, and it's amazing. It's kind of like Stephen was talking about yesterday, how if you zoom into his work, he has things that are hidden down in the small details. Achtungrael has worlds and universes hidden down in in the details of his work. And I know that in that very first golden post that is there, where he has a quote, which I assume, Aktun, that is pretty much one of your philosophies, right? That as opposed to using art for marketing and public influence, we should be expressing ourselves. And you had asked us not to ask you, what is it that inspires each piece? No, because you're working from a stream of consciousness and symbolic meanings that come to you as you're working, if I understand it correctly. So the things that I have noticed as an art connoisseur and someone who has studied a lot of art history is that you are able to create visual effects with your hands, that are extremely sophisticated, that most people would never imagine trying to do without being draftsmen or having had or using computers at this point. Not only that, but when I became aware that as we move along, and we see some of your other pieces there, you explained to me that you're using your own photography for the backgrounds at times. You're using all your own motifs. And they have symbolic meanings to you. And at the same time, they are incredibly graceful and beautiful and intriguing, to me as an art connoisseur. I love the fact that you're able to share with us those ballpoint pen sketches, and then you show how you go ahead and use what are the tools that people use now as digital artists to go ahead and render it in a digital way. And again, this is one of the artists that just floored me when I saw how beautifully you were using Achtungrael, these glowing backlit screens, because they make the colors just pop. That second piece there that's called Green Pill, if you guys open that up and look at the whole composition, it is gorgeous. And it's those colors will be preserved now on the blockchain forever. They will never degrade, which is the difference with doing physical art. The third piece that's called Quantum Leap Forward, which is Aktun's latest mint just in the last few days on Nympha, if I'm correct with that, Aktun. Um, that is just a gorgeous piece, again, with background photography and all of those small, if you zoom into that, all of that small work, those little dots, all of the stars, the images that evoke universes, are done by hand, each one. So you can imagine his concentration, his dedication, and then I asked him to put in a few where he would blow up the details so we could see them on our screens here in case people can't do that. He's also just, I would call Achtungrael the polymath. He's able to do many, many different things. He is curious and explores his artistic world with his curiosity. So I would just like to say one more thing, which is that if you scroll down a bit, you will see some of his physical pieces, where he's also working on canvases. And so, how about Aktun? Could you tell us a little bit about? I know you have an interesting life story as well. You had mentioned that you lost your mom, and we are very sorry to hear that. But I understood that both your mom and your dad had influenced you in terms of what caught your attention. And could you tell us a bit about that? How that's affected your artistic life?
Yes, totally. Yeah, in one side, my dad, uh, a long time ago, he was very strict, and he was like, he studied electrical engineer, so he was very strict, and but loving at the same time. Yeah, But that side was like the square part, like a rational part, and in the other side, I had my mom, who was very loving and very tender, and she was like a teacher for kindergarten, so she knew how to communicate with children and lift up our curiosity and making us do things that will also like trying to giving us all the love and the knowledge and so it was the part that it was like soft and gracious. So and later on, when I was like from 9 years old, I started like working with my dad. Like every time an electronic device from the house went broke, he opened it up, and I was like watching all the work that he was doing, and I helped him with a lot of things. So I get to see the insides of these devices, and it fascinated me the way they looked, and I really enjoy that part of being with my dad doing that. Um, and my mother got into sacred geometry, meditation, and all that knowledge that she brought to us, because really we were like this old Catholic family that went Catholic because of tradition. But after some time, my mother got very interested in this kind of knowledge, and she opened her mind and her soul and starting, learning different things. And she started talking to us about the geometry and sacred geometry and the universe and the soul and the energy that is surrounding us. So I was like also fascinated by this idea, but at the time I didn't understand fully what she was talking about. I was, very being an adolescent with my own world and my own things, and later on, I wanted to be like this kind of successful in the advertisement industry, and then she passed, and everything changed for me. So I tried to understand myself, my own life, what happened, where I'm going in life. So that's where I decided to, to start doing art. But I didn't know what I was doing really. I didn't have a clear destination in my mind, but I just wanted to express myself. And then after many years, I had a very rough time, a very difficult one. Life is like that. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and I was very down, down, down. And I thought, what can I do to pass this and overcome this? And I started doing exercise. I started walking in a park nearby, and I was starting like seeing the trees, the nature, trying to inspire myself. And suddenly, I decided I needed to draw in a sketchbook, just draw without any meaning, just to let go of my thoughts. And I started doing this kind of geometric work that I'm doing now. It started very basic, with no clear idea, but after a while, I started like understanding what I was doing, or trying to understand at least. And I put like the combination of both sides of my past, the square things and also the tender things and the visions of the universe. And suddenly I realized that my pieces also represent, in some way, the human internal processes, because we all have inputs, a process, and an outcome, and that's running through a system. So for me, also my pieces are like systems where the ideas or the actual life that is happening is affecting us, and we are giving back something to life, or we have a reaction on it. So my pieces are also thoughts like that, like and they are very internal to me, like how can I connect myself to the whole universe? Where do I belong? Or something that happened to me one day in a specific, how can how those affect me inside, and what is going to be my outcome also in the universe, because everything is connected. So yeah, it's that's the two things that I integrate into my work, that are like part of my past, that are things that are powerful within me. I feel them, I see them all the time, and I do want to share that with the world somehow.
So, wow, a lot to unpack here. And Blue, thanks for posting all. And that was a positive comment, by the way. Um, one of the things that caught my ear, one of the many things that caught my ear, is when Blue mentioned that a lot of the work has labyrinths in them. What How does the metaphor of the labyrinth play into it, and how does that inform your work and your outlook in life in general? There's a certain sense of mystery here, and a sense of getting there, but through um, a not so straightforward path. Can you talk about the labyrinth in your work?
Yes, totally. The idea of the labyrinth is very powerful within me, because the first inspiration I have for that is a book called El laberinto de la soledad, the labyrinth of solitude, by Octavio Paz, that is a Mexican writer. And that gives us a perspective of how are we living our lives, what is the meaning of our life in not just in your culture, but in the world and in the universe. So in my work, the labyrinths represent some aspects of life that seems that we cannot escape from. You know, we're running and running and running again and again and again, like the myth of Sisyphus, where he's pushing this rock, and all the time the rock falls down again, and he goes down and starts picking up again the rock till the top of the mountain. And we are in sometimes in these situations where we cannot escape, and we have to learn to live with it. And sometimes we can escape, but we are in this maze all the time in life, uh, going through all of these things, perhaps also things that are happy, or not. It doesn't mean that we have to live like in sadness all the time, in labyrinths of sadness, but we also live in labyrinths of happiness, and that's good, And yeah, that's what the labyrinth means to me. And also because I think that in the concept of space time, even though if you're in a labyrinth, you're traveling through space. We're traveling through space and time, even if we're not able to see it right away.
So, with the labyrinth, is there a there there? In other words, is there an end to the labyrinth? Or are you always in the labyrinth or moving from one labyrinth to another?
Yes, exactly. We can leave one labyrinth to join another one. And I do believe that we are living in a multiverse, so we can be at multiple labyrinths at multiple times. Actually, that's what life is to me, at least, because we have all these situations that we have no control over it, and we're still going through relationships, work, health, the love with your partner, the love with your family, friends, everything, people around us in a mall or in a park. And that's what the labyrinths mean to me, like we're living through this maze all the time.
What about, if you don't mind, and Blue, I know you have more questions. It seems to me that for some of your works, at first blush, it looks like it's mirror images left and right, but then in others, it's mirror images with some slight asymmetries on one part. Is that just my imagination, or can you comment on that?
Yes, totally. Some of them are reflections, because symmetry exists in nature, but sometimes that symmetry is not perfect. More of the time, actually, if we see our faces, one side is one way and the other side is the other, and arrange slightly different in another way. But that is nature. And if you see something like a butterfly, wings or something, they are almost perfect. There are almost perfect symmetry, but it isn't. And that's why I do that, because you will see the butterfly and you will see it perfect, but it's not actually perfect. And that's the point with that also, because we all always are trying to, as an artist, I think, at least for me, we're trying to imitate nature, or trying to be as aesthetic as nature, and find the beauty in that is something very important for me. That's why I use also the geometry in so many ways, because geometry is everywhere.
You seem to dwell artistically, again, positive, in that tension between the perfect and the almost perfect. Even though perfection can never be achieved, you seem to grab that tension, and that in a subtle way weaves itself through your work. It's the more you look at the pieces, the more you get absorbed by that tension, and it becomes very pleasing. Blue, I know you had a whole bunch of other questions there. Do you want to have anything for Achtung?
Let me get my mic on. That is, I think one of the things that really did hit me the most, and forgive me for double putting things up into the nest there, but is there actually the vast majority of his work is asymmetrical. It appears to be symmetrical, but when you zoom in, it's asymmetrical. And the amount of genius it takes to do that with such fine work, and the time that he takes to do that is really quite amazing. I just like to reset the room a little bit. I see some people are requesting to speak. What we're going to do at the beginning is to go ahead and interview Achtungrael for a little while, and then we'll be taking questions from the audience. So that asymmetry reminded me, when I first saw it, it actually reminded me of Navajo rugs, because the Navajo of northern Arizona, where my family are from, when they make their rugs, they purposely leave a mistake in the rug. They do not try to have it be perfectly symmetrical, although you would never know unless you look for it. Why? Because they think human beings are not able to replicate the perfection of nature, and that we are all part of nature, and we should be, in reverence of nature. And so when I noticed that Achtungrael was using geometrical figures and yet they were not symmetrical, and there's a lot of them that correspond with the type of geometry you see in plants, the cells, the sides of cells with hexagons and six sides and different things. When you look at the cell structure of plants and even butterfly wings, as he was talking about, when you look at them close up under a microscope, they are like, they call them scales. When you go really far in, they are little tiny prisms of light. So just the amount of observation of the natural world and all the different parts of it that we kind of look past, he manages to put that into his work. That is astounding to me. I find that to be very unusual, and all coming from a ballpoint pen and from his creativity. And in a time where people are using uh, and they often say it's to save time or it's out of curiosity or whatever, but they're creating a lot of images, which I don't have a problem with people playing with AI. But the idea that we can use ourselves, our own mind, that our mind is actually more creative than a machine is, if we let ourselves be that way, if we can tap into that, is absolutely beautiful. So he's one of the rare artists that I have seen really tapping into the natural world consciously, and then also Achtungrael, I don't know. I would guess you kind of go into a trance state when you're working, don't you? Just from looking at what you're drawing.
Yes. Actually, that happens to me when I'm just in the initial point of sketching. I get this like trance, and then I start to receive this image like I I feel it just like a structure of things, and I start drawing, and I let myself totally go with it. I put music. I really enjoy that moment because for me, art. The whole point after doing art, I realized it was that connection actually, because that also happens to me when I'm painting. It's even stronger when you're painting, I think, because you have paint all over. Well, at least me, sometimes I have paint all over my hands, and I let myself go with it and really forget about everything else. Just being there in that moment of creation, of receiving this message that for me is like holy message, and I'm in communion in that moment. Like my body is like aware of my soul, and my mind is like just saying, yeah, okay, go ahead. And I really enjoy it.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Blue.
Which maybe is that why you end up sometimes staying up until 4 in the morning? Are you working?
Yes, I'm working. When I sleep that late, it's because I'm working, and I'm not aware of the time, so I'm just like enjoying the process, and suddenly realize, okay, it's 4 a.m. Perhaps I should rest a little bit and continue tomorrow or something.
Well, that actually leads into my question, which is you get into this trance-like state. How do you know when you're done with a work? Who's driving? Does the work tell you? Do you tell it? Is it a joint effort? How do you know when you're done?
Yeah, that's always like a fun question, and a very good one every time, because it's like, yes, it's a joint effort, but also it's like it is a feeling for me. Like I don't have to think about it. It's just like perceiving the image with the, like, yeah, with the soul, and then you feel it, like, yeah, it's done, like, yeah, everything that I wanted, or what I'm feeling is right, and yes. And you have to also, I know, you have to stop at some point, because you can go on and on and on and on, and sometimes you make mistakes because of it, like, when you paint in real life, it's more difficult to, and takes more time to correct that errors. But in digital is way easier to do that. But yeah, it's, for me, it's, at least it's a feeling that is the piece is done, and it's totally a joint effort, because also when I sketch, the piece looks very different from the last version of it. Like when I get into the colors, it's all a new process, and that I really love as well. And because I do the lines, sketch the lines, and then I get into the colors, and it's another world. So that's where I sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm putting too much things, or I'm putting I'm overlapped here, and I got to take two steps back, and okay, maybe, yes, this is it, like, this is the feeling, like, okay, the piece is done.
How big are those canvases that you're working on? The ones that are the big acrylic canvases? The one that where it says, if we scroll back a bit, it says, it's a beautiful saying that you have written there. I believe it says something about, this will always be my song, singing this until the day I die. And we can see there some of your, if you scroll back, folks, singing this until the day I die. I believe you told me that was an acrylic painting. And there's many layers of acrylic underpainting, and then on top of it we have your symbols and some of your coded alphabets. I also see roots there, which again, I've noticed tree motifs, but the roots are quite beautiful. And so it just, once I started looking into these in detail, it was really fun and interesting to see the repeating motifs and how you alter them slightly, but then it's like you have your secret world and you're sharing it with us. At the same time, it's communicating at a different level with what you believe, your beliefs maybe about the universe. So how big are those canvases when you're painting physically?
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I don't know the measure in feet.
It's
I know
okay. Some
most
of
of
us
the,
speak metric. Some of us speak metric.
yeah, the biggest one I have is 2 meters wide by 1 meter high.
So that's like 6 feet by 3 feet, folks. Yeah.
Okay, and the one you just talked about is like 120 wide by 80,
hmm Yeah. It's a little bit smaller.
and yeah, it's a little bit smaller. And I have, from there, I have smaller ones, because I also have an issue with the space here. Sadly, I don't have a studio to work on, but someday I'll get one, and I'll do bigger and bigger and bigger. If I could do a mural, I would be, triggered by it.
That would be a question that I would have for you, because as I looked back at your earlier work, and some of that's up there, where the motifs were a bit smaller, it's become increasingly complex in these later, more recently minted pieces. and they seem to be much larger on the scale in terms of the digital art as well. In terms of, and I'm no expert at all at digital art, but just I can imagine, as people say, the weight of them, how many pixels are involved there. And I just imagine how you're zooming in and out to put in all those details. Um, I'm wondering, what are you exploring now for yourself? Are you, because it looks like there's some stuff there that you're working on that has to do with 3D. I noticed you've mentioned that a couple of times. And if you could do whatever you wanted, let's say if you had all, the resources you needed and the support from the people who love you, and you could do whatever you wanted with your art, where would you go next?
To Disneyland. uh, no, I don't know. I'm actually like not thinking about that at this moment. It is a very good question, though, because I do think that I have to think more of that. But I just letting myself go, like exploring what I can do, uh, exploring more things aesthetically, more things technically. Um, I don't know if your question is about the tools that I'm going to use or thinking about using, or perhaps in the vision I have my style or.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was a bit vague. When you said the word mural, I wondered, would you be interested in doing mural size work physically? And certainly when you're doing these types of very intricate, with very high resolution um, digital work, that can then be projected onto very big screens, right? Without losing the detail. So I
Oh
was
yeah.
wondering if that was a part of your vision. Sorry, I hadn't
Oh, oh
made the
yeah, yeah,
question
yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, totally. I see these pieces as murals because of the details. I grew up in this country. We had a very, very nice generation of muralists that were very powerful, and also I feel the influence of it. Because here you grow up knowing that those were the great artists in Mexico, like Siqueiros, Orozco, Rivera, Rufino Tamayo. They're like giants for me. So it's something I had like very like attached toward the idea of doing big murals. And I actually, yeah, I put like in my last piece, or my most recent one, um, the resolution is 12,000 pixels wide by 6,000 height, and at 300 dpi. So it is a large image. I wish I could do it bigger, but you have to think about the size of the file in order to upload it, and things like that. But yeah, I think most of the time for my pieces to be at a very large scale.
And the follow-up question I'd have to that is that I have noticed that many people now are moving to setting up their online galleries and in the metaverse so that people can have interactive experiences with art, and for it to be preserved on into perpetuum. And Block Muse is here with us, and I did put up one of his pieces. I realized he's one of your collectors, and they're part of in the middle, perhaps, of the series. He very kindly gave us a screenshot of how he already has one of your pieces placed in his museum that he's building. He's not calling it a museum, but we know that it will be there forever. So those are what the museums will be forever. And that's very kind of you, Block, to do that. And I think that that is the way of the future. As we've talked in here quite a bit about how blockchain will be helping with provenance issues, but also that things will be conserved digitally forever now. They will not degrade if they are made through digital means. So it's very interesting to hear that you're already making things with huge levels of resolution, if I understand. I'm not a techie at all, but that sounds like that's pretty huge. So I did. Can I ask you another question? Unless, Steve, you had something else that you'd like to ask right away. Steve's not. I can't hear Steve.
Yep, quick question, and then it's my favorite trick. Don't put the mic on. Yeah,
Okay.
and then let's open this up to everyone else to ask questions down there. So I'm curious as I
Do you
look at
have one
your
more
work.
question, though, Steve? I'd like to
All
ask
right,
after.
you get
Okay.
one more co-host privilege, and then we'll open it up. So as I look at your work, I'm also reminded of another great artist from Mexico City who just recently passed away, Leonardo Nierman. Are you familiar with his work? Painter, sculptor, just an incredible artist. Yeah, I think he passed away in June, but very tight interconnections with music and painting. The 2D works absolutely jump off the page with a Zen-like spirit. And then at one point, I actually got to meet him once, and I said, "How did you start incorporating sculpture in your work?" And his sculpture pieces started out small, like 1 foot, and his later ones were 40 feet long. And he said, "Well, one day I thought if I was inside one of my paintings, like an eyeball in there, what would it look like having people look at my painting work?" And then I started looking around inside the painting and I realized I was in three-dimensional space. So I started working in three-dimensional space and the sculpture emerged from that. Anyhow, if you haven't, check it out. Leonardo Nierman, Nierman, and absolutely great painter. But your work does remind me of a lot of his pieces, and I think that you would find some synergy there. Blue, you had a question before we open this up.
Yeah. Two actually. But Achtungrael, are you familiar with that artist? Is that someone that you're aware of, Nierman?
Sadly, no.
Okay, might be
I will
someone.
have to. I would have to check him out.
Okay. Well, I did talking about 3D and what it would feel like to be inside of your work. I did go ahead and stick back at the very last as the last post there in the nest, just so you guys can find it. What is a one of the most beautiful collaborations I have ever seen amongst digital artists, which is between Achtungrael and a dear friend named Flippa Cadabra, who is a animator and brilliant artist himself. And the two of them have, uh, if you guys want to play through that, it is gorgeous because you see a figure that's going in and out of the intricacies of a labyrinth and then interacting with each other. And that's with original music. The score is by Achtungrael, and they worked very closely together in great joy, I understand, on that collaboration. It's one of the best I've seen ever. The level of quality of that is just gorgeous. So I would suggest you see that. And then the last thing I would like to ask Achtungrael is, you come from a very special place in the world. You come from Mexico City, which is one of the most important centers of history in the world, with both the Mayan and the Aztec civilizations there. And you're living amongst the remains of those civilizations every day. And of course, I see some what feels to me like echoes of those themes in your work. although I've not heard you say that that's something that you're trying to do per se. But I did read in your on your website that that does influence you, and I wondered if you could talk a bit about that, what it means to you to be in that area of the Maya and the area of the Aztecs, and to know and all of the archaeological sites of Mexico City is built upon, and it's just an incredible heritage. So if you wouldn't mind telling us a bit, does that affect you, and does that is it important to you, and what do you how what, is there anything you'd like to share with us about that part of your heritage?
Yes, yes, totally. Thank you for asking that, because it is very interesting the way I feel it. Is like, yes, I was born here. Even though I have nothing to do with them whatsoever, like they were like a total different civilization, culture. We still have a part of their heritage in many ways, and I see them like, yeah, I belong here. I have this culture inside of me, but I'm not trying to depict the thing itself, their culture, because they were not just Aztecs and Mayans. We have Olmecs and Toltecs and Teotihuacans and all kinds of city states that lived in this part of the world. And that also applies to many, many countries in the world. So um, the way I see it is like I feel this strong visual influence from that. Uh, I'm not trying to copy them. I'm not trying. Every time I start a piece, somehow it ends up like being seen like something like that. But in my mind, it's like another thing. It's a total different thing, and because if you look here, if you come here to Mexico City, that by the way I invite you all to come. I can take you to eat the best tacos in the world, in the universe, actually. Yeah, but if you look around, you will
Everyone
see.
else, everyone else in Mexico will be arguing with him now. Just wait till after the show's over.
Yeah, but if you walk around, you will get to see and feel that vibe of ancient cultures, and it's all around, because it has affected also people who draw their own signs for their businesses, their small businesses, and they paint themselves. So you get to see everywhere here. Like, it's very interesting to see, because of the compositions, the color combinations, all the aesthetic here. Uh, it's very, very influenced by that, and it's a beautiful thing. And I just say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm not trying to steal from them anything. I'm not copying them. I just had that influence in me, and I live with it, and I find it very beautiful, aesthetically as well. I have many friends that do that kind of art that are amazing, amazing. And yes, I am honoring, those cultures, of course, and but I try to see it as well as like a from a wider vision. And also, I'm thinking about ancient cultures from Egypt, from Syria, from the really ancient ones, and the Incas also, and that it is a very strong influence on me to think about those civilizations, and they they the connection they had with the universe, with life, it was very different. they were very interested in those things about geometry, mathematics, very high concepts, and I love to think about those. So yeah, in some way, I'm honored all of them.
You reminded me once that who invented the zero?
Oh yeah, the Mayans discovered the zero. So
We would not be here without the Mayans. Voila.
Well, we can continue this. We can maybe sometimes do a space on people voting their, favorite place for tacos. And until I get to Mexico City, I'll keep mine in 29 Palms by Joshua Tree National Park. There's a little hole in the wall, Taco Tuesday, and tacos 74 cents every Tuesday. Anyways, fantastic. So let us open up the room. And please request to come up, and we'll start bringing people up, and you can um, ask Achtung your own questions, and we'd love to hear from you.
I see Beatrice is requesting. She's coming up.
I figured she'd be one of the first ones up, and there she is. So, Beatrice, go ahead, and others, please join.
Guys, I'm here at the airport, but when I saw in the space that you were going to interview this artist from Mexico City, I said, I am going to see that, I'm going to listen to that space because I knew it was going to be amazing. Jimmy connected me with a Latin group yesterday, and I'm telling you, they are just breathtaking their work, which I think I am very thankful for that because before I complete my website, I'm going to have to improve because these people are just incredible, incredible. And I'm so proud to be Latin because the way that they feel and connect with life through passion, through love, through what they see happening around is amazing. So I just want to congratulate you. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I'm so proud to be Latin. And no, no, no. I'm just impressed with the work. I knew if you bring this type of artist to the space, we're going to deal with some talent. So anyway, I just want to say thank you, and the space is amazing. I'm gonna be listening, and I knew it was gonna be amazing because what we are watching and hearing. Okay, thank you.
muchas gracias,
Ah, no,
Beatriz.
mejor dicho, ¿qué
Muchas
es eso,
gracias.
querido? No te voy a llevar una serenata de mariachis.
Se llama Francisco, Beatriz. Se llama Francisco.
Okay.
Okay, and now we have Polaroid guy coming up as requested.
You guy, welcome. What do you have to say? What questions do you have for Achtung? And go ahead.
Well, firstly, thank you for putting this space together and having this amazing artist on. I'm totally in love with his work. I have been watching his work for a while, mostly because Blue has mentioned him in her feed quite a few times. I have a couple of questions. Upton, when you face the blank page and you have all this information coming to you, where do you feel it is coming from? Like, is it coming from another dimension, or is it coming from the subconscious, or is it a combination of things? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, Polar Guy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I actually do feel that is the combination of those things. Like I'm receiving this message, but I'm receiving it through my mind and soul. So my hand just have to express what it is, you know, like I'm totally as the page, I'm blank, and suddenly I start seeing the image. I just follow the rhythm of it and try to keep on with that energy, because it's an energy. So I'm feeling it, and it is a weird sensation actually for me, because like I said, like Blue asked, I'm in like this trance state, and I'm just not thinking of anything, not even words. So I'm feeling this energy coming through my body, and let my hand just go explore the page. And as I explore with my hand and my pen, I'm also exploring feelings and emotions, and speed as well sometimes. It's beautiful. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, I really relate to that quite a bit. I do understand that feeling. And one more question: do dreams influence your work at all?
Yes, also dreams, because and it's very weird, because sometimes when I go to bed, I close my eyes, and I immediately start to seeing things. It is very, very amazing, because sometimes I see one image for a long time, and sometimes I start seeing like these changes, like every time it's changing, and it, sometimes it's geometric, and sometimes it's not. Like it's very free form things that I don't truly get, because I perceive them as also very big and very intricate. So and that happens when I'm like closing my eyes, falling asleep. And yeah, I do think that perhaps in my deepest dreams I have even more of those. But yeah, it is also a part where it's a strong inspiration and a strong feeling when I'm dreaming.
Very, very interesting. Thank you so much.
When,
Appreciate
when,
your.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, curious. Good question, P guy. So, when you wake up from one of these dreams, do you write it down? Do you sketch it out? Do you have lucid dreams? How do you capture these? Most of us, we have incredible dreams. They're gone by the time we say, "Oh, I got to remember that."
Yes, I usually have my sketchbook beside my bed. So every time this happens, because I don't want to interrupt that, like, oh yeah, I saw this and I have to draw it right away. Like I just let it go, and if one image stuck in my head very strongly, then I take my sketchbook and start drawing something, the basic form of it. Like I see very simple shapes, perhaps, and I try to draw this, and I just leave it there. Like I later on I come back to it and said, okay, I think I feel that this image was like having this over here, and then I let myself go again and start like completing the drawing just by feeling.
I have one more question, Steve, if I may.
For sure.
Just one more question for you, and that is, you mentioned how the natural world influences your work quite a bit. How do fractals play any influence in your work?
Yes, totally. Because, fractals and geometry are the things that nature is constructed in or by. uh, and I try to incorporate some of those there directly, like with no filter whatsoever. But sometimes I try to put it in a different way, but it totally influenced my work, the fractals. I actually have a collection on object that I call frac trees, that are just photographs of trees, and I just try to give them the slightest possible process to it. Sometimes I mirror them, or the most of the time I mirror the photograph, and it makes these amazing effects where you can see, I see them like faces or the spirits of trees, and it's all because of the fractals that
Yeah,
they
that's amazing. I mean, I did collect one of those pieces, because I really felt that about them. It's really cool that you mentioned that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your art with us today.
thank you very much, the poor guy. Thank you.
Jimmy, you're up here. What would you like to say?
Hey, good morning, guys. Great space. Loved hearing about your work, Achtung. And I just spent the past 15 minutes exploring your work. And first thing I just want to I want to jump onto what Beatrice was saying about this group that I was involved in yesterday. It's a bunch of Latin artists. It's the Roots collection. If anybody's interested, they can go check out my pin tweet. It's 36 amazing artists. And Tuco's involved, and it's curated by Makita. If anybody knows who she is, it's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, talking about passion and energy and creativity. I when I'm looking at your work here for the past 15 minutes, I just dove into a bunch of pieces, and it reminds me, like, I don't know if you're familiar with. There's an artist, he's an Indian artist named Creedon, and he works in like super geometry and like almost psychedelic, but it's very symmetrical and very, very detailed and all hand drawn. And I'm looking at your pieces and I see a lot of that in there, and it like makes me think about, like, I have a lot of theories on life and the universe and physics and quantum physics and mechanics and all these things. And looking at your work, it's like you're diving into, you're seeing what's behind the veil. And like, I often think of like how we create work, and sometimes we look at the work afterwards and we say, where did that come from? Like, it came from like somewhere beyond ourselves. um like what you're describing in my personal life, I've seen. In meditation and different things, I've seen these geometrical lines, shapes, and patterns, these symmetries, um very, very, like, real. And it makes me wonder, like, we perceive our lives in a certain way, physically, matter and all these things, and our physics. But then below that, in the quantum world, it just all goes out the window. And these things are held together by, these energies and these symmetries. Supersymmetries is a study as well. And I think it, like, I look at your work and it's like you're pulling that, like, subconsciously, like you have a channel into it. And like you said, you don't force it, right? It's like a dream. Like, you know how you wake up in a dream and you're like, oh my God, I'm in this dream. And then all of a sudden it disappears. But you'd mentioned that, like, you just kind of like throw that away and just like, okay, let's see where this goes. And I think that energy is what allows you to pull this work into our world and show it the way you do. It's absolutely remarkable, dude. I can't even fathom the hours it takes you to do this, but it's really cool. And thank you so much for coming in today and sharing. And thank you, Stephen Blue, for bringing them in.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. I really appreciate all your words and the vision, because I do share that the universe is created out of these little tiny particles that we cannot even see, but there are there, particles and sound and waves, and you're familiar with this theory about the we're existing in many places at the same time. And because of that, there are entanglements that are joining, and the forces that are joining, the energy, the frequencies of your thought, and all of those things are a very thing in my mind. And as I said before, when we combine those with our mental and physical process inside of us, that makes us like this type of machine, or a system that is working within and without. Actually, there's a song that I love from the Beatles that is called "Within You, Without You." uh, I love that song because it represents all of that. And yeah, the thought of it is amazing. And yeah, thank you, Jimmy, for your words.
Yeah, my pleasure. Beatles, a huge Beatles fan. I love that song. I know what you're talking about. It's fantastic. So yeah, very cool. Thank you so much again.
Um, Great questions here, and I'm going to stick something up in the bubble there. It's a wonderful article in a publication called The Marginalian, Maria Popova, which I would encourage everyone to read. It is my favorite read, and she just did a piece on the pattern inside the pattern, fractals, the hidden order beneath chaos, and the story of a refugee who revolutionized the mathematics of reality. And that refugee is Benoit Mandelbrot. I'm sure I completely butchered the name. Sorry, Blue. But his most famous radical sentence was that clouds are not spheres, mountains are not cones, coastlines are not circles, and bark is not smooth, nor does lightning travel in a straight line. An obvious truth a child could tell you. Anyways, I'll pop that up there. I think that anyone who is interested in the topic of fractals and driving deeper will enjoy that. One question before we have Lady Joanne, who came up here, and a concept that I invoke often is that from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, that great work happens when the dividing line between subject and object blurs and you become one with whatever it is you're working on and it becomes part of you. It sounds like that is the space that you live in when you work and even when you dream. That doesn't require an answer, but we'll go on to Joanne. Joanne, questions, comments, and uh, you always add great insight to these spaces.
Well, good morning. I always love to hear you speak. Hello, hello, hello. And one of the things that really strikes me is when I was growing up, art was such a huge part of what we did. And geometry coming together was also something that my grandfather and my grandmother were very involved in. And when I got to high school, my teacher, who was Latin, um, always understood that sacred geometry was a part of life, and it was something that connected us. It's the energy and the flow from this world to the next, in a way. um, as I listen to you talk, there's so many parallels of what I've grown up with, and I'm guessing that many of the artists in the room are hearing and feeling the same things. But what I love most is the way you are able to express that. And the you know many people are so restrained in the expression of their art. They don't show the work. They don't show how they came about it. They don't really talk about uh, the the passion and the connection and the energy and how it ebbs and flows and connects you to the work. And then the perfect imperfection of life in general. And anytime, anything is too perfect, it bothers me a lot. I feel like, there should be an imperfection. There's always, two of this, there should be three of that, or, a break in the line to make the slight difference perhaps that no one would know. And my grandmother was a crocheter, and she always made sure there was a flaw somewhere in the Afghans that she provided, especially when they were for babies or weddings. She insisted that the flaw was um, eh, the piece that gave them the opportunity to flow their energy, between worlds, and it was the place where the dreams could get in and get out. And I really just so enjoy listening to you, and I wonder if people will be encouraged to share more of their minds. I know you inspire me to always share more of how I create and why I create, and showing the aftermath and the pre-work. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, man, I could do this to show people what I do. And that is one of the greatest things about being an artist. You are able to inspire others. So I'd like to know if you intentionally speak about what you do with such care and grace and flow to help others release their creativity, or if that just comes naturally to you.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. I do hope that the things that I'm saying inspire other people, because as I said when we started the space, I do believe we all have that creativity inside us, and we have to embrace it. I don't know why at some point in life we are more encouraged to do other things, like, yeah, you have to be successful in life, and successful means having a highest degree in school, and then work, and then make a lot of money, and for some people that's the success in life. But at least for me, it is like success is enjoying what you're doing, and being happy with it. And art for me has given me that, and I appreciate that every day of my life. I wake up and say thank you, thank you, thank you, life and universe and God and fractals and geometry, for having me here doing what I love the most. And it's not a strategy, because what I say, I I don't believe in advertisement anymore. I don't believe in marketing, because that's a way of tricking people into what you want them to buy. And for me, it's not that. For me, it's be as honest as possible, and to communicate emotions and feelings. And if that helps another people to embrace their creativity, that makes me very happy.
Well, I love that. I also sleep with a sketchbook next to my bed where I put all of my dreams and my notes. And um, yeah, I love hearing how you express everything that is in my mind that I don't generally share with other people unless I'm inspired to do so. I wish we would all be more, I don't know, free, and share our hearts instead of our minds as much. So thank you for the lovely, lovely interview and conversation.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you for coming.
Joanne, you know what? when I was just like prepping a bit with Achtungrael about what would be like one word that he would use to describe himself that he would like to be included in a description, the word he said was, go ahead, Achtun.
Free.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a strong concept because I think that state of trance is freedom, actually.
Yeah, and it's so powerful to hear you speak about it because we are taught to be, to kind of be more discreet with our emotions, to hide them, and yet they always come out through art. And to have someone be able to give words to it and to claim it and to be absolutely immersed and have made the decision to live art as your life as much as possible is freeing for everyone else who's listening to that. I mean, we all yearn for that. All of us who are artists yearn for that. So thank you so much because you're able to put into words things that are very sensitive and powerful for people. I think for everyone in this room, and that's a huge gift that you have given us, and it's a gift that we give each other as artists. So thank you for doing that, Aktun. Um, would anybody else like to come up? Steve has gotten called away a bit, but we will continue on. I did have another question that I wanted to ask, but I'll be glad to if anybody else would like to come up first. That's no problem. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start, and everybody feel free. Tiba, did you want to say something?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Blue. Well, such a lovely space. Thank you so much for putting this space together. I just want to say that I know Tune for some time. When it came into the NFT space, I connected with him. I was just learning everything about NFTs, and it's been such a wonderful pleasure, to be connect with him. And one thing I can say, this man has been, so authentic, and it's so lovely, to connect with people like that in the space. So, Achu, man, thank you for sharing your art, your journey with us. It's always a pleasure to have you around. Thank you so much, and Stephen Blue as well. Thank you.
Oh, my brother Tiva, thank you very much. I wanted to hear from you. Uh, I remember those days, and we were like having this craziness about the NFT space, and we are still learning, and we're still here. That is the most important thing. I just wanted to say to you, Tiva, thank you very much. I love you, my brother. You've been there for a long time, and thank you also to all my friends that show up today. I want to say thank you real fast to Alex the Metalisa, Bobby, Blog Muse, Hamex, Hind, Fami, Bisan, Robert, Yunue. Let me see real fast. Who else we got here? Payos, Mel, Runda, Emsar. Emsar is another great artist from Mexico. You should totally check him out. He does these incredible things. Also, Payos, Hamex as well. You should totally check them out. And thank you very much. Does anybody have another question?
Yeah, I have loved that we have gone through this whole space talking about art. We have not once talked about bear markets or bull markets. And I'm so pleased that we have done that. The impression I have of you, Aktun, and forgive me if it's a mistaken impression, but the impression I have is that you have continued on with your work, irregardless of whatever is happening with the whole milieu of the cryptocurrency, the NFT markets, all that stuff. You are doing your work every day, it seems to me, and that is your priority. Is that correct? Is that how you feel about it?
Yes, totally. Because I do feel that I have to do it. I just have to do it. I cannot stop. That's one thing. I'm always having this like feeling of, okay, you need to do this. Because I enjoy it very much. I truly enjoy it, and I do feel free when I'm doing it. So I will continue to do it because I need to. And if I'm here, like sharing with amazing people that I've connected through this time in here in Twitter and NFT land, um, I've connected with so much amazing people and friends. Share amazing ideas and visions and concepts, and I really love that, so I hope that we can still sharing, we can still be here, yeah, and yeah, that's the most beautiful thing about this, the connection with all of you, with all the people that want to share ideas, want to share work, want to share process, want to share art. So I'm very thankful for that. And I also, sorry, I forgot to mention Ernesto Ash is also here, my friend. Thank you. Ocote.
And we have Shinobu who has come up. Would you like to comment, Shinobu?
Hello, everyone. No, I don't have any comment. Just I ask to be here just to present you my heart. But to be honest, I'm working in the same time, so I didn't really listen what you said, Achtung. Sorry for that. Achtung, are you German?
No, it would seem by the name, but no, actually, I'm Mexican. And since you ask, I will talk briefly because sometimes people ask me, why did you, why that name? And it's because I chose it back in 1999, and it was given to me as my cosmic name. I thought it was my cosmic name. I was in this workshop of sacred geometry workshop, and at some point they told us, okay, you have to choose your or ask for your cosmic name. And the first thing that came into my mind was this name, Achtungrael. I
Okay.
don't know why, but actually, when I analyze it, it's like I know the word in German means be aware or attention, or So for me, it's like put attention in what you're doing, put attention in life, put your awareness all the time, eyes wide open for everything that's happening in your surroundings, even though you have sometimes overwhelmed by thoughts. Be aware of the energy that is around. So that's the meaning for me. And yeah, it's weird, it's hard to say, I know. But some people, and I don't have problem with people saying like I cannot pronounce your name well, or anything, but yeah, I think it resonated with me, and yeah, that's why.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, that has been a question that a couple of people have wondered about. I've wondered about that as well. Um, and again, it's funny because we're in these different kind of realities. Yeah, online people use a lot of different pseudonyms and for different reasons, and some people are using their real names. And as we move in between the physical art space versus digital art space, there may be a couple names people are using. So that is, but it's lovely, and thank you for letting us know that your first name is Francisco. I don't think you reveal that often, so that's very kind of you. And Steve is back now. I think we're heading towards our 90-minute mark. So
We are, and I
yeah,
have to tell you, I love the idea of a cosmic name. What a wonderful concept here. Um, Gosh, I got to think about that one. I'm not going to let my wife or kids come up with one for me. That would be really bad. But what a beautiful concept, though. And it really does describe you. I mean, my knowledge of you stems from the past 90 minutes and looking at your work, but just um, it's such a perfect match. And uh, if you took that cosmic name description as your tagline, it would just say it all. So, anyways, thank you very much. So we're at the 90-minute mark, as Blue pointed out. If anybody else wants to step up, now is the time to do it. Uh, so anybody else down there want to speak? And thanks everybody who came up here and
mm,
asked good questions. And most of all, thank you. Oh, aha. See, all you got to do is say we're going to close it off. And it seems like we have somebody else down there who wants to come up. Blue?
coming on up. Yes, I hope she's coming on up. Can you pull her up? Has she come up?
I think I lost her.
Okay. I hope she comes back.
Okay.
I did have a small kind of semi-anonymous request that came in DM to me as a question while we're waiting for Achtungrael. Was that your wife that was there who came up? We just got lost there. Can you ask her if she wants to come
I
back?
I don't know. I don't know.
You knew it? Do you know it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she just got rugged. Would you tell her I don't know if she's near you, but we were very happy to have her come and join us. Um, but we tried to call her up and then she got popped out. But yeah, there was an anonymous question that came out of the peanut gallery there, by somebody who's dressed in orange. And just wanted you to speak a bit to the topic of AI. How do you feel about AI? And does it make life easier in certain ways? Or I'm not gonna put words in that mouth. He wouldn't come up himself. He's sitting down there laughing now. I said, you
Yeah,
ask him, and he's like, you ask him for me. And okay, whatever. Anyway.
I have a slightest idea of who asked that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
If anybody else wants to know, it's the person in the orange hoodie there. Yeah. Hmm.
I do feel that we are in a talking about art. We had so many tools from the day it was born. Like we used the natural pigments. We have used pencils. We have used brushes, and now we use computers. So for me, it's a natural process of humans to look for tools to do things for us, and it's okay with me. I'm okay with that. We have technology that helps us also do great things. The thing for me with AI is just that I don't want the machine take over my expression. Even though if I can, prompt and make it do whatever I want with words, I do feel that I want to have the full control of what I'm doing. Like if I want to do a line, I have to do it myself. If I have to do a square, I have to do it myself. I just don't feel comfortable with the notion that I'm letting the AI expressing in shapes of forms of or colors for me. I do appreciate AI artists, their ideas, because there are concepts behind it, and I do appreciate them. I totally respect them because they're choosing their tool. So everybody's free to choose whatever tool they need to create. And the most important thing here is to create, to express for me. So yeah, it's a very good question, and I hope I don't mess around with the love for AI.
Oops, sorry about that, everyone. Well, this is a good point to um, okay, so I hit the mute everyone button. Come on. Anyways, that was a very diplomatic answer to a question that could have catapulted this space into, the next geological era, and we're not going to do that. In fact, we're going to wrap it up now. So, my head is just bursting with so many more questions, ideas. I can't wait to dive back into your work. I hope that you'll check out Leonardo Nierman, Nierman. I think you would find it absolutely stunning work, and I wish he had achieved more fame in his life. But anyways, thanks everybody. Thanks to Tiba for making this possible. Blue, who does an incredible amount of research on our guests, and wow, it's like this is beginning to feel like 60 Minutes or something like that, where we have these dossiers and all this background and a dogged reporter here. So, Blue, thank you very much.
Can
And
I just say, Achtung, I just tried to see if I could find, I believe that was your wife who got dropped, and I couldn't find her. So could you please apologize to her? We tried to bring her up, and it looks like she got rugged right as she was coming up. So that
Yes, yes.
look.
Actually, she told me what happened. I just asked for the mic and then throw me out, and I
Tell her
said,
to come back.
"Yeah, welcome to the rock universe,
The rug club. The rug
the
club.
rock club."
But
Because
yeah.
she's not into Twitter so much.
Mhm.
It's
I don't know if she wants to come back, but we would be very happy to wait for a few minutes if she wants to come. That was unfortunate. Our loved
yeah,
ones
but
important.
best best that she cut her teeth on getting rugged in Octo's space here. So getting rugged amongst friends, that's cool. So I think we will wrap this up here, as it is now quarter to the hour. So thank you, everybody. Next week we are having Toko Deco. For those who are familiar with her work, that should be really exciting. And I had to wait till she came back to a time zone that worked. Boy, this time zone stuff is just what a pain in the ass. But it seems that 9 a.m. is working pretty well. We haven't had any brickbats thrown through our windows or anything like that. So this is a good thing. And if you do want to throw a brickbat, throw it through Tiba's windows. It's all his stuff.
But
Anyways,
thank you for those of you who are getting up at 7, 6, 5 in the morning.
yes.
Thank you so much for that. It is very kind of you and very much appreciated. And after, we have some other folks lined up who, again, are people that are from more outside of the community, who will be coming to us from different geographical locations with different ways of using the web. There's a couple of people who've already accepted to come in the future, and we'll be looking forward. Thank you so much, Achtungrael, for getting up early, for sharing your vision with us, for sharing your inspiration with us. I'm so happy that we spent this whole time talking about art. Thank you for that. It's a huge gift you've given us. And thank you for everything.
Just to finalize, I want to thank you deeply, and I feel honored because of this interview, and very grateful for the space you've given me to talk about what I do and what I feel. I do appreciate it very much. So thank you for seeing me, and thank you all.
Well, thank you for the heartfelt answers, commentary, and it was candid. It was wonderful, and I think I'm gonna go out and think about my cosmic name, and you know maybe figure out where in the labyrinth I am. So on that note, Tiva, a little bit of music, sir, and we're gonna do the countdown, and that's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a great day in the labyrinth. Find some light.